going to talk about intuitive definition of a limit. Understand? They will ask you in an exam room and say for 3 marks, use intuitive definition of a limit to explain this. Remember, they won't be always A or L. They can put it any letter. You must just know the procedure. Understand? You have to write these 3 points. Point number 1, you say as X gets closer to A but not equal to A, f of X gets closer to L. This is your point number 1. This is the main what? This is the main proximity. Understand? So point number 2, we're going to say as X gets closer and closer to A but not equal to A, f of X gets closer and closer to L. This is our key points. Closer and closer. Understand? Closer and closer. Here's our closer. Here we have 1 closer. Here we have 2 closers. Understand? So let's check another point. The last points. You say we can make f of X arbitrarily. Let me see arbitrarily. Do like this. Arbitrarily closer to L by making X arbitrary closer to A but not equal to A. This is the 3 points that you will need to explain what does the thing mean using intuitive definition of a limit. Understand? Those are the only points that you will need. Understand? Nothing more, nothing less. So another one, they will ask you when the question will come, when can you say the limit exists or does not exist? Understand? Meaning, when can you say the limit as X approaching A of a certain function f of X equals to what? Does not exist. Or when can you say this limit of f of X exists? When we say exist, meaning what? It has a certain value. It can be any defined value. It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, except what? Except infinity. Understand? Or except plus or minus infinity. Understand? except those. We don't want this one. We only want real numbers only. So point number 1, let's talk about when can you say the limit exists. Ne? Suppose you have the limit, you must write this. The limit as x approaches a of f of x. So point number 1, for a limit to exist, ne? The limit as x approaches what? A from the left, understand, of f of x must be equal to L, understand. Point number 2, you say the limit as x approaches a from the right of f of x must be equal to L, understand. Point number 3, you must say the limit from the left of a must be equal to the limit from the right of a of f of x must be equal to L. Remember, this thing means from the left, this thing means from the right, understand. This is when you will say the limit exists. This is the third point to the right. Another point, when can you say the limit does not exist? Ne? You are going to write this. Suppose you have what? You have a limit as x approaches a of f of x. A is a certain value, ne? So for a limit to not to exist, ne, there are two methods, understand, that you should know. Meaning that the limit as x approaches a from the left of f of x can be equal to L, and the limit as x approaches a from the right of f of x can be equal to negative L, understand. Therefore, the limit from the left of a of f of x is not equal to the limit from the right of a, understand. Therefore, the limit as x approaches a of what? Of f of x from both sides is what? Does not exist, ne? Here the limit exists. Here the limit exists of f of x exists, ne? Exist, understand, is a certain value, any real number, understand. This when can you say the limit does not exist. Don't forget, don't just write this part. Write this part, show them what is this thing approaching and also this thing approaching, ne? This thing is approaching a positive number, this one is a negative number, or it can be two different numbers, ne? Two different numbers. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Two different numbers. It can be 1, this one can be 2, understand? Two different numbers, understand? So another part of explaining when can you say the limit does not exist is not only about numbers. Let me show you another part. You can say, suppose you have the limit as x approaching a of what? Of f of x, ne? Point number 1, you're gonna say the limit from the left of a, which is a certain value, f of x, can be plus or minus infinity, ne? Then point number 2, say the limit as x approaches a from the right of f of x can be what? Plus or minus infinity, ne? Meaning that the limit as x approaches a of f of x equals to plus or minus infinity. Remember, infinity is what is not defined, meaning the function will be what? Does not exist, understand. This is the point that you must write, understand. This is how can we explain the intuitive definition of a limit, which is this one, and also when can you say the limit exists. This question can come in 3 marks form, 3 marks form, 3. both three of them. The limit exists, the limit does not exist, and what intuitive definition of a limit. You must know all of those things. It's a must to know them. To get in an exam room, know those things. Understand? So another question will come. Ne? They will tell you, or we have the limit as x approaching a of f of x, ne? And they tell you, or what does this thing depend on f of a? Understand? Is a question. Understand? Your answer is gonna be what? No. And also give reasons, ne? You're gonna be no, then is a 1 mark, and also give reasons why you're saying no. Understand? First reason, you're gonna say what? The limit as x approaching a of f of x tells us the behavior of the function next to x equals to a, ne? And another one, we're gonna say what? F of a tells us the function value. Understand? Gives us the function value only. Understand? And also you give them example. Why do you say no, ne? Suppose we have a limit. You tell them this as x approaching 0 of sine x over x, ne? First step, the limit as x approaching 0 of sine x over x equals to 1, meaning it does what? It exists. Understand? But our f of x we know is what? Is sine x over x, meaning our f of 0 is what? Is undefined. Ne? If it's undefined, that thing means what? It is what? It is either infinity or negative infinity, meaning it does not what? Does not exist. Hence the limit as x approaching a, which is a certain value of a certain function, which can be sine x over x, as x approaching a can be any value which is what? Which is 0, does not depend on f of a. This is your answer. Nothing more, nothing less. Understand?